Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, May 13th, 2022. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by Jonah Booker for his usual Friday visit. So Friday the 13th, my man, are you a superstitious guy or not?
I am not. I'm just happy it is Friday and the
I'm
weekend's
with you.
right around the corner.
That's right. I've never, watched something really bad happen now that we've said that, but hopefully not. Hopefully the show's great and our Friday is great and the weekend is great. That's what I'm going with. We have nice weather here in Ohio. It's been nice all week. Of course, we usually, as usual, we skip spring, but we'll take it. It's been nice all week. All right, so a lot to get into, Jay Book. Let's start with this. As we talked, you hosted a Buckeye Spaces earlier this week. We talked about this. I know Griffin on Twitter wants credit for bringing up this topic. As I said on your Spaces, I'm never a national championship or bust guy because so much has to go right. I'm absolutely, for certain years for Ohio State, pretty much every year, win the Big Ten, get to the playoffs or bust, and then see what happens from there. But man, I think you might have talked me into it. I think I'm really close to getting there. I guess the only thing that I could say was like, if they go undefeated, they're 14-0, they get to the national championship game and they lose a close game to Alabama, I couldn't call that a failure. I'd be disappointed. So I think I'm there. I think I'm at national championship or bust. I know you are, right?
I'm totally national championship or bust, and I'll break it down. You got a veteran quarterback, a guy who's going to be probably the number one pick in the draft. You have an offensive line that a lot of people believe will be outstanding this year. You have three solid running backs, probably the top loaded running back room in all of college football. You take into account you probably going to have a top 5 wide receiver, a loaded wide receiver room. You're getting the defense turned around. I just feel like the momentum right now is you have to go for it all. This has to be the absolute year. All the dominoes are lining up for you. All the stars are aligning. It's been way too long. A lot of people believe Ohio State has underachieved when you look at the success on the grand scheme of things when it comes to the recruiting. So right now, to me, I just think that with the defense expecting to be significantly better than what we've seen for the past several years, I feel like the time is now. It has to be right now, because if it's not this year, then when will it be? Will it be 2 years down the road, because you're breaking in a new quarterback next year with Kyle McCord? You're going to be breaking in a new quarterback with Devin Brown eventually down the line. You're going to lose probably your two offensive tackles in Paris Johnson and DeJuan Jones. So you're going to be looking for 2 new tackles next year. So for me, I just think the sense of urgency has to be right now. I think Georgia's going to take a step back. That defense is an historic defense in Georgia. Alabama, they're going to be absolutely loaded. The way blocking and getting guys for the portal, Heisman returning quarterback. But if you look at the landscape of college football, there's no one else right now that can compete with Ohio State top to bottom, pound for pound, when it comes to talent. Dave, you're on mute.
So I did. Oh yeah, my cat was meowing very loud, so I had to. I was on mute there for a second. So I did a projected 2 deep on each side of the ball for the Buckeyes this year. I did defense and offense, broke it up into 2 different stories. I know you had a chance to look at it. In my view, there's not a lot of close battles for spots on the 2 deep. I mean, backup offensive line, there were some battles there. Tight end was one that was one I really had to think about. I'm still not convinced. I had Cade Stover and Joe Royer bracketed as the starters, but I think G. Scott Jr. is going to play a lot. Mitch Rossi is going to play a lot. They like that top 4. Look on both sides of the ball. What do you think of the projected 2 deep? And do you see a lot of or any really tight battles there for the Buckeyes?
See, and this is why I say is national championship or bust, because I'm looking at your 2 deep. And like you just pointed out, there's not a lot of open battles. That means you have established starters coming back, guys that are good enough to start at Ohio State with a lot of experience. So when you have the 2 deep pretty much penciled in, it tells you right now that this roster is absolutely stacked. I mean, going through it, I think you did a great job laying it out on the Bucknuts site, the two deep. And basically, I know someone asked about the defensive ends. You're going to have JT Tuamalu, Jack Sawyer, Zach Harrison coming in the rotation. You have true freshman Caden Curry, who they like, Javante Jean-Baptiste, and then you also get Tyler Friday back. So you got 6 defensive ends right there that they feel really good about. I mean, when I'm looking at your two deep, Dave, the only spot that I could potentially see someone maybe get unseat is Taron Vincent, maybe. I mean, the way he played like a madman in the Rose Bowl, you have to like where you're at with him. Can he really, have a big breakout season his senior year? Maybe, but we all know that Jaron Cage played really well down the stretch. And then you also have Ty Hamilton, who they're really high on. So we all know that Tyleik Williams is going to be the guy. And then I really like how you had it broken down as far as the linebackers in the 2 deep based off what type of alignment that they're going to be in. With the 4-2-5, you're going to have Tommy Eichenberg and Steel Chambers as your 2 linebackers. If they go to your traditional 4-3, then you're going to have Ironton's Reed Carrico in there as a starting Sam backer. But you look at those positions, you have Cody Simon, who's going to be in the mix there. But I feel pretty good about those 3 guys. The only thing that I would say in regards to, coming up with a scheme on where guys will start is if you're in a nickel package, I think Cam Martinez could be your potential starting nickel inside guy because he has that flexibility to play on the back end as well as up front playing with a little bit of corner technique.
All right, next one. Jumping around as we are wont to do on the show. A lot to get into, as always. Love it. All right, so you and I also talked about this, and I talked with Tony Alford about this, and he talked about it. He was very forthcoming about this. He did a great job. He had to re-recruit Miyan Williams because other programs are trying to poach Miyan Williams. Why wouldn't they? I don't even blame programs for doing that. They know Ohio State has Travion Henderson, who's a stud. They know Miyan Williams is really, really good. Didn't get a lot of touches last year. I think he'll play a lot more than like this year than he did last year. Master Teague's no longer around, and I know they like Miyan. Hey, they're gonna have to find room for Evan Pryor too, but these things have a way of working themselves out. Let's hope all 3 of those guys stay healthy, and it's a problem you want to have. But I do find it interesting that Tony had to re-recruit Miyan and did a great job doing that. That was probably not an easy thing to do because I'm sure, Jay Book, you had good programs coming to Miyan. We're not talking about MAC programs. Nothing against the MAC. I don't want you getting mad at me. You're a former MAC player yourself. But, I bet there are, good programs, in all seriousness, coming after Miyan, telling him, you will be our starter if you come here. So kudos to Tony Alford for this room he's put together and the fact that he's had to re-recruit Miyan Williams and did so successfully.
Absolutely. And there's no doubt in my mind that Miyan Williams, if given the opportunity, could be a down in, down out starter at pretty much 85, 90% of college football programs. And that's including the Power 5 guys. I mean, if Miyan went to Clemson right now, Miyan would probably start. I mean, if you look at some of these big time teams that are in the top 10, Miyan would definitely be the bell cow back. But with that being said, I'm happy he's decided to stick around. I think his future is bright for him. I like the fact that they're going to have a 1-2-3 punch there. I just hope that there's enough touches to go around. I mean, I'm looking at it like this, Dave. Miyan is your absolute bruiser. He is going to take you behind back in the alley, and he's just going to sauce those ribs up because that's how he goes about his business. So what does that mean? When Ohio State is up on somebody in the 4th quarter, you bring those fresh legs in with Miyan and let him just go to work, just punishing people. And then you bring in a little bit of Evan Pryor to slash him. I just think the bevy of style and the bevy of athletes that you have at the running back position is going to give you so much flexibility to do whatever you want to do. And it's a testament to Tony Alford and his relationship with Miyan that he said in those interviews with you guys, yeah, it was a tough sell, but at the same time, it wasn't because their relationship was so strong. So when you're up front with someone and you lay out the game plan on this is how we're going to use you, this is how we visualize you being in this offense, and just laying all of that out there and just putting the information out there for him to make an educated decision played well for Ohio State here.
So keep bouncing around. That's what we do on the morning five. All right, recruiting. It's going awesome. They landed Dylan Rayola. We talked about that all week on the show. I want to get your thoughts on that. Awesome. I mean, this is the first time you and I have talked about it on this show. Maybe on every Friday. Awesome news. We knew it was coming, but to get the number one overall player in the country in the 2024 class, a young man from your backyard, they're in the Phoenix area and at the most important position on the football field at quarterback. Love it. And the son of an NFL player. He seems to really have his head on his shoulders. No surprise there. I love everything about that. So speak about that. The Buckeyes landed Dylan Rayola. And then 2023 class. Who are you really keeping a close eye on right now? You can name more than one. Rayola and then speak about 2023 recruiting if you would.
All right, we'll start with Dylan. What you're getting right here is a primetime quarterback. A lot of people believe that even though he is a 2024 prospect, he is better than all the kids that are in the 2023 class. And with that being said, please do not reclassify into this class. You and I talked about that on Spaces, and there's a lot of chatter that he could reclassify, which speeds up his timetable to arrive at Ohio State. We saw that with Quinn Ewers. We don't want to see that. That's just my personal opinion. I would love to see that gap between him and Devin Brown so that you can really secure your future for the next several years. But when it comes to overall talent, Dylan Rayola is the real deal. He can make every throw. He can stand in the pocket. He can move around like you want to. And there's a reason why he's the number one player in the country. And then one of the other most important aspects about getting him in the fold is he is an alpha dog. And what I mean by that is recruits gravitate him. If you went to social media, if you would see so many of the top high-end national recruits congratulating him, throwing up the Buckeye emoji, saying, hey, let's talk. He's already on the phone working the 2024 class and the 2023 class. The thing that you also have to really like is he is very tight with the South Florida Express contingent. Those guys in the South Florida Express 707, they're heading back to Columbus again. And if you don't know, that is the contingent that has Carnell Tate and Brandon Enos, the two top wide receiver targets on the board. So the fact that he's also close with those guys, as well as JoJo Trader, a 5-star in next year's class, it just tells you that when guys from across the country are gravitating to him, he's the real deal Holyfield. And then you mentioned recruiting. Some of the guys I'm looking for, June is going to be a monster month. What's the over-under on potential booms? 4, 3.5, 4, the way things are shaping out, because a lot of people believe it's just a matter of time before Noah Rogers pulls the plug and decides to become a Buckeye. I like where Ohio State's at with Tackett Curtis. He's my primary guy, is the linebacker. If you can pull him out of Louisiana, who is an absolute thumper, that right there is going to be big for Jim Knowles, because, yeah, we can recruit offense all day, but you got to start getting that high-end talent from down south on the defensive side of the football, and I think it starts with Tackett Curtis there. And then, obviously, the wide receiver position is going to be one to watch. If you get those guys in there with the wide receivers, I think it really just kind of builds a momentum heading into the summer for a lot of those other big-time guys that they got. And, I know we talked about the wide receivers and who are they going to take, how many they're going to take. I know you wanted to touch on that as well.
Yeah, what do you think? We had a fan on Twitter ask, would they take up to 5 if they get, the 5 that they want? I think they could. It'd have to be the 5. They're not obviously going to at all reach for a 5th. I think they'll probably end up with 4. But would they take 5 if they get, the 5 that Hartline wants? I think he would have the discretion to do that, yes. But I think they'll end up with 4. What do you think?
Yep, I agree. I don't think they're going to take 5. I think that the odd man out is Rico Flores. I just don't think that they're going to have any room for him. Any other year, Rico Flores is a for sure take for Ohio State. But the fact that you already have the Rogers, well, I'm calling them the Rogers brothers, if you get them, both of the Rogers kids in the fold, Brandon Enos and Carnell Tate, guys that they have a little higher on their actual board. Now, if Rico Flores had committed earlier before Rodgers had committed, then I think he'd have been a take at that particular time. But the fact that we're about a month away, 2 months max, that you may have all 4 of your top wide receivers off the board, I just don't think Rico is a take right now. And an indication of that is Steve Wilfong going ahead and crystal balling Rico Flores over to Notre Dame, who hasn't even visited there yet.
Yeah, it's amazing what Hartline's doing, isn't it? I mean, it really is.
Yep.
I mean, with what Ryan Day is doing at with quarterbacks and what Hartline's doing with wide receivers, we just had a commenter down there that mentioned Steve said we need a defensive recruiter like Brian Hartline. That's why, I mean, that if you're wondering why did Ryan Day make the mistake of bringing in Kerry Combs as defensive coordinator, because he wanted an all-star recruiter and thought maybe Kerry, his 2 years in the NFL, maybe he could be a good defensive coordinator. Didn't work out, but just the 2 years that Kerry was here, man, he recruited his ass off. Like, got guys like Denzel Burke, got high, and Denzel Burke was like of the 3 the most lowest rated. You got Jordan Hancock, who's going to blow up this year, in my opinion. As I mentioned, you got Denzel Burke, got J.K. Johnson, who's the fastest guy on the team. Got some other guys that they like Kai Stokes and some others. So, yeah, I mean, somebody said Larry Johnson is the defensive Hartline. To a degree, I think Hartline's a better recruiter than even Larry Johnson, and Larry is nearing the end of his career, so that's an issue there. All right,
I tell you what though, Dave, I like where the defensive back coaching tandem are at right now with recruiting. I think Ohio State's going to, in the end, land 5-star safety Caleb Downs out of Georgia, and then you look at the relationship that they're building with that other 5-star safety out of California, St. John, is a Bosco Prep, that they went out there this past week to go visit him. They flew out there and they really hit it out of the park with him. And if you're able to get Mateo in the fold, but as far as the defensive back coaches, I've been extremely impressed with the way they're able to go ahead and hit the ground running, because Ohio State is in the thick of things for some high-end top defensive backs. And it's impressive that they're able to build those relationships in a short amount of time.
No doubt about it. I'm absolutely loving it. Yeah, that Don Bosco Prep pipeline that Wyatt Davis helped start. I love it how they're going out to California. They're getting CJ Stroud from Rancho Cucamonga. They're just Chris Olave from out there. I mean, how about that? I mean, they're just they're recruiting. They recruit internationally too. Jesse Mirko and many others. Cam Johnston, Ryan Pretorius. Usually just kickers. Hero Canoes from Germany though. Even though he's been over here for a few years now, he's originally from Germany. All right, last thing. I know you wanted to get into this. So you have Dane Brugler, an often guest on the Bucknuts Morning 5. Dan Rubin has him on occasionally. Does a great job for The Athletic. He has CJ Stroud projected as the number 1 overall pick in the 2023 draft. And I know that you mentioned Ryan Day has talked a little bit about this too. I mean, when the head coach is talking about it, when it's a third-year sophomore, I mean, I know everybody knows this is going to be his final year. It's not like it's a secret, but I do find this interesting. Not that I'm biased or anything, right? I definitely think Stroud's going to be the number 1 overall pick. But your thoughts on what Coach Day had to say, and also what Dane Brugler is projecting?
Yeah, it's not very often that we hear Ryan Day actually talking about his players in NFL draft status. He kind of dances around it, but I thought it was very fascinating that he mentioned it's like, yeah, it's out there and a lot of people have to do their projections. That's their job. But when it comes down to CJ, his sole focus is continue to develop CJ. His motto is you can get even better than what you are right now and have an even better season than what you had last year. But more importantly, he has to continue to develop if he wants to have a long-lasting career in the NFL. Dave said, no doubt about it, the kid's going to the NFL. He's going to get a nice contract. But the goal is to make him stay in the NFL, that he can have a long career there. And so to me, I think it speaks volumes that, yeah, he's good. The kid threw for 44 touchdowns, 6 interceptions last year.
Pretty good.
4,600 yards, 4,400 yards or something along those lines. And Dave was like, yeah, he can be better. He can be better. He can. And they're basically saying like he did that coming in and really didn't have the leadership because he was a first-year starting quarterback. He was also hurt. Don't forget about the injury. And then Ohio State's playbook is not an actual easy playbook. Now he has total command of the offense. He's going to be able to get them in and out of bad plays. And then he just knows how to read the defense a whole lot better. And that was one of the biggest takes that I've taken from the Ohio State coaching is him being able to go in there, grind how to attack a defense. And I will say this, Dave, Jim Knowles coming in and giving him so many looks, I think is going to be invaluable this season because Jim Knowles runs a sophisticated defense. It's going to be out of the box type of defense. And if you can find ways to pick apart that defense and understanding where you need to go with the football, it's only going to make the game that much easier come Saturday when you're playing against your traditional Big Ten defenses.
Great knowledge, as always, from Jonah Booker. Really appreciate it, Jay Book. We also really appreciate all the listeners out there for tuning into the show. Thank you for all the comments. Love having you guys be interactive with this show, and thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks to everybody listening to the podcast version. If you're not listening to the live version, appreciate everybody who takes time to listen to the show. There's a lot of options out there. We appreciate it very much. If you like the show, like, subscribe, give us a 5-star review. Thanks again to the man, Jay Book. Thanks again to all of you for tuning in. Hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend.